the extraordinary matter of deliberately intervening in your spiritual unfoldment and developing the third eye. We haven't yet said what the third eye is. We might have said that it was a chakra, this flower-like structure that we build into our etheric bodies over many lives. Or we might have said that it is the pineal gland, which was the objective of the operation. It is neither of these. It is neither of these. And I'm going to show you as diagrammatically as I can what we mean by the third eye. We have seen that we have an assembly of interpenetrating vehicles which make up the nature of our spiritual structures. And I'm just going to do one, but they imply, of course, not just the etheric body, but the astral body as well, giving the personality and emotional content, and also the mental structure as well. These together producing the human aura. Now we're concerned with the chakras. The chakras are located in this area, one at the base of the spine, where you have got the sacrum bone, which is fused vertebra together, on which the spine sits. And so if that's the buttocks there like that, that's where this base of the spine chakra is. At the level of the male gonads, and a little higher in females who have their ovaries well inside the abdomen, you have the sacral center, and its job is to feed energy into the organs of reproduction, not only at the moment of reproduction, but from the very beginning of the development of the fetus. Then we have here the navel, and almost encircling the navel is the center of the solar plexus, where it takes in energy from the astral world into it, energy, emotional energy, which most of us use very well. We learned how to do that in Atlantis. We learnt to put together an astral body over many lives in Atlantis, and then to take emotional energy into it and create from it. Then there is the heart center. The heart center, when President Kennedy does that, when they're singing America, that's what the meaning is, placing the clenched fists of determination and the heart center for loving compassion. And then we have, coming up into the head region, we have one over the Adam's apple, the throat chakra, and then we have one related to the pineal gland, one related to the pituitary, and one related to the angle between the jawbones. The differences between these three head centers is important. There is this one in what we call the sacred square inch there, and it rotates. It's called ajna, A-J-N-A, ajna, and it grows through focus, any act of focus, even reading, but intense study and intense one-pointedness. This chakra grows, and therefore I'm going to just to illustrate, show you where you would find it on the brow, like that. We call it ajna, ajna. Similarly, in the head there is a structure on the crown of the head, which we call the thousand-petaled lotus, and it is inverted. It is inverted. That's called the crowning glory of man. We'll give it a different color. The crowning glory of man. And then we have this structure between the angles of the jawbone called alta major. Alta major. And then that fits on to this. That's the capstone. That's your capstone in terms of the etheric body. We're looking at structures in subtle substance. There it is, your etheric body, and that's an enlargement of this put into profile. Yoga. Yoga is a scientific process in which we change the dynamism of the human generator. These chakras generate energy, and they can produce energy of extraordinary amounts. If you were to store unit 1 of energy normally in a chakra, just unit 1, sitting here tonight perhaps, it is possible in yoga, with the assistance of breathing exercises which take the prana in, to increase the amount of prana you have in a chakra to more than 1 million. The potential from 1 up to 1 million. And those who are yogis learn how to do with this and to maintain it for some considerable time. Now, yoga means taking energies from a lower center to a higher center. And so the process involves this, where you open up Muladhara, the chakra at the base of the spine, and then you lead its energy to its higher ego, its higher counterpart. And in this case, we take the energy from the base of the spine to the 1,000-petaled lotus. And in that way, the 1,000-petaled lotus is opened. What you need to know, of course, is what things enable this process of sublimation to occur, to pour energy from one chakra, and it's up the spine. I've used that for illustrative work. It's up the spine from the base of the spine to the 1,000-petaled lotus, which is a chakra inverted just there, and it is related to the pineal gland. All the chakras are related to endocrine organs. Talk about that later. So that's yoga. Not from there to there, and in sustained sexuality, energies are concentrated into these three, and they form a fused pattern. And there's very little left for anything else. So energy at the base of the spine to the head center, or 1,000-petaled lotus. Energy from the sacral or sexual center is taken up by sublimation to the throat. One of the ways you can do this is through sport. Sport is a natural sublimation of energy from the sexual area to the throat. And the throat is very susceptible to sexuality. And if there is intense use of the sacral center, you can cut the throat chakra out from the point of view of being able to sustain anything. This shows in all kinds of ways which are interest to the healer. Little boys of about 14, 15, 16 years of age are very anxiously developing their sacral area, often to the loss of the throat center. This is why boys who can sing high notes were in old days castrated, so that the high note singing related to the throat chakra was preserved by castration. I'm not suggesting that as a branch of yoga, but it's certainly worth thinking about. And so we're gradually pushing energy up, and there are yoga processes for doing this. Then the energy of the solar plexus center, which we all have strongly, is taken to the heart. From the solar plexus into the heart. Let me give you a hint. This is the energy of attachment, of emotional love. I will love you if you love me back. And if you don't love me back, I'll cut your jugular vein out. A love that demands response, that's ordinary solar plexus. But a love that does not look for response. I will love you no matter. Whether you love me back or not is irrelevant. I will love you. This is platonic love. And when you practice that, the energy from that center goes up into the heart, and the heart is aroused. And spiritual perfection demands the arousal of the throat of the heart chakra. The next stage is that the energies are now all drawn above the diaphragm. There's the diaphragm, like a skull cap. That's the thorax, or the breast, the chest, and this is the abdomen. And so energies are streaming up through the disciplines that you do. We're now switching to the head area, and we say that when you practice meditation, practice it, not succeed at it, practice it, then you draw energy from that center up to there. And so meditation is the basic key to opening that chakra, and it will receive the whole impact of the base of the spine chakra. And that inverted lotus, as you become developed, upturns itself. The stalk is lost, the lotus upturns itself, and if you look at our book, The Jewel and the Lotus, you have a picture of the Buddha, your higher self, in fact, seated, enthroned on the lotus above your head. You must think, ponder these things out for yourselves. By focusing on a pinpoint, on a mantram, on a mandala, yes. By focusing on a mandala, we draw energy into ajna, and it comes from the opened heart. The opened heart's energy, which is increased with opening, with focus, goes to ajna. And the energy from the throat center, the throat chakra there, is drawn up by service to mankind. Sorry, I've got it wrong. Energy from the throat center is drawn up to alta major. So from alta major there is a radiation of energy. Watch very closely. The energy of alta major becomes opened, and you have to do these things simultaneously. By that we mean serve mankind, study the esoteric classics, and do your meditation each day, and all three of these open. As you continue to focus, this center gets larger and larger, and as you meditate regularly, this center gets larger and larger and larger and fills that cup up. So here is a highly advanced spiritual person practicing everyday disciplines and getting his energies up from below the diaphragm to above the diaphragm. and from above the diaphragm into the head in the way that I've suggested it. What then is the third eye? The third eye occurs when these three centers begin to overlap each other. They must be open concurrently, and as they begin to overlap each other, there is a vortex or a capstone formed. And where these three overlap, you get the capstone forming. Or if you don't like the capstone, you can use the third eye. All three centers have to be coordinated with each other, and that is through the process of doing normal, well-established techniques in your daily life. And so you have to change your lives. And there are many easy ways that you can take on from tomorrow to start changing your lives, such as keeping a spiritual diary. Get a plain manuscript book and start to enter up the spiritual events of your day. Three things. Subjective events, what you dream. Sorry, I can't wiggle that on my own for some reason. I'll take this hand. What you are dreaming, the waking dream. If you put questions to your higher self at the moment that you are going off to sleep, look for the answers in the waking dream. Meditating, what you experience in your meditation goes into the spiritual diary. The subjective parts of your life. Then there is the focusing, this one here. Study classical teachings, such as you've heard me talk about tonight. There are many lovely little books on them. You study these, and because you are studying the works of someone who has trod the path like you set up a resonance with that person who wrote the book. You are reading that book, The Voice of the Silence, The Jewel and the Lotus, and the others. And as you read, there is a rapport between you and the author. And you will get feedback from the author. So that's study. Then later on, you will learn. If I come down here again and you can get me an audience, I'll take you into meditation, how to do it as easily as these complex matters that I have given you here tonight. And so we come to the matter of, that was the subjective things in your life, including meditation, the things that you study, and here the service work you do for humanity. Yes, you're in midstream and you're just treading water and getting along all right, but you should be helping mankind. How do you help mankind? You must decide that for yourself. There are innumerable ways of doing it. And if you do those three things together concurrently, these chakras open very rapidly indeed and create a vortex of energy which constitutes the third eye. Now let me just finalize, and then we will have question time. What then is the third eye? It is that vortex of energy, but the third eye can be masculine or feminine. It can be positive and thrusting, or it can be entirely receptive. Obviously, if you want to investigate, study the early history of mankind on the planet, we call it the Akashic Records, reading the Akashic Records, because the emotional memory of mankind is contained in the astral world. the memory of man ever since he became emotional. And it's possible for you to locate areas of the Akashic records where the memory is embedded. It's one of the things of the third eye. So the factor is that to be receptive to incoming impressions is a female, or if you like, negative aspect of the third eye. To be outgoing and thrusting, passing energy from you and your higher self into a diseased part of a patient, or in teaching by eye contact. That is positive aspects of the third eye. Madame Blavatsky said the pineal gland is the uterus of the third eye. What did she mean? When you study the pineal gland in the brain, you find it looks something like that. This is the third ventricle, and the pineal gland is a vagination of the third ventricle, and it looks like a uterus. What did she mean? She meant this, that in the etheric and subtle matter interpenetrating the pineal gland, and remember the uterus is the place that you embed the egg, the fertilized egg. And the fertilized egg is a symbol of an idea. And by using the pineal area very well, you can trap a thought form, a seed thought, a seed put into the uterus of the brain, the pineal gland, the whole area around it. And then that idea, concept can grow and grow and grow. A seed thought in the mind of Florence Nightingale, who goes to the Black Sea, to that triangle piece of land called the Crimea. She goes to the Crimea, she sees men mutilated in the hands of men, and she suddenly thinks these men should be nursed by women. And so the seed thought is implanted of nursing by women, and eventually produces that incredible organization, the Worldwide Red Cross movement. And that's what we're talking about here, the great geniuses that produced the theory of evolution and many other things, by having their thoughts seeded here by a high being. Then you have the other part of the third eye, which is related to the pituitary gland, just above the roof of the mouth. There's the roof of the mouth, there's the pituitary gland. It is positive. It is shaped like a phallus. It is the phallus of the brain. And here, from this chakra there, ajna, you can project, you can create a link with something. Leadbeater was able to extrude from this region and steady the nucleus of the atom and watch it and say to Annie Besant and the others nearby, take this down. I see the hydrogen atom is made up of 18 ultimate particles. Each of these is divisible into 3. They together form 2 oscillating triangles. He could see it. And they took it down and gave us that wonderful book, Occult Chemistry. And so this is what we mean when we say that the third eye is dual. And some of us do very much better with one of the 2 aspects than with the other.